Hello, my name's Pleniotorian, and this is where I go fishing. Welcome to Fishing Tasmania. You're going to see some great fishing action and hear some useful tips and advice about fishing in what I believe is one of the greatest places on earth. One of the first things visiting anglers will notice about Tassie is the wide open spaces. We've got a really good mix of brown and rainbow trout waters, and every water holds fantastic trout. We're here at Penstock Lagoon today. It's a fantastic place to fish. It's a fly fishing only water. As you can see today, there's hardly a soul here. The weather's just about perfect really for this sort of fishing. Penstock's got a mix of wild browns and rainbow trout. Hard fighting fish, usually around the 4 pound mark. We'll be throwing a few emerger patterns around today. So why don't we get going and we can sort of dry around and see if we can catch a fish. Yeah, it's nice through here. We're going to pop some flies in at the shore, and while we're doing it, see if we can spot some cruising fish. This can be one of the most fun ways of fishing at this lagoon. Actually seeing the fish and casting to it. I like this bit of shore here. You don't need a boat here at the lagoon. There's plenty of great shore-based locations around the lake, particularly the dam walls for polaroiding. Most of Tassie's fisheries are only a short drive from the major airports where you can hire and drive what you might need to get to the lakes areas or the rivers. And there's always the ferry as well for those wanting to bring their boats from the mainland. A lot of anglers choose to spend a couple of weeks down in Tassie, bring the boat, the camping equipment, and set up camp at places like Arthur's Lake, Great Lake, and make the most of a couple of weeks here. There's one right there. Good deal. All yours, Mr. Brown Trout. Nice jump too. Oh, yeah. Got a half decent cast out in front of him, and he's taken that. I won't muscle this fish, there's no need. And now you can see why he was feeding so well. That line of duns is quite distinct along there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row right there. Oops. Oh. Well, it doesn't all turn out the way you wanted. Quick lap around the boat and into the weed. That's what it's all about. Well, that's got my heart going at about 100 miles an hour. We'll have to put on an extra bit of tippet there because he's just taking a bit of line there around the weed. And there's a fish rising in the background as I'm trying to tie that leader on. It's all happening here. Coming up everywhere now. There's another one I heard. Yep, I'm on. Only a small fish came up on that fly, and that was a nice Textbook take. Not a big fish. These little ones put up a good account of themselves. There you go, in the net. Thanks, mate. Well done. Beautiful little trout though. Pop him straight back in. Get another one.
Well, we didn't do too well that day, and that's the thing about Tasmania. It's not always easy, and it can be a challenge for even the most experienced fishermen. But when you do hook into a good one, you know it. Big fish can be found right around Tasmania, from the sea runners in our coastal rivers to the trophy trout of our highland lakes.
There he is, and that is what we've come out here for. That is absolutely sensational. I can promise you that fishing anywhere on God's earth does not get better than this. That is pure, unadulterated Highland gold.
Just magnificent. But really, it's not just about the size of the fish, it's the locations. I personally love fishing the smaller streams and rivers around Tasmania, and there are plenty of them. The settings are beautiful, and the trout are plentiful, and great examples of their species. It's really a magic place. Tasmania is relatively small and compact, and pretty easy to get around. You can walk into the remote areas like the Land of a Thousand Lakes in the Central Plateau, get on a boat or a kayak, or drive to any of the lake edges. And once you have a fishing licence, it's a place where you can still fish for free. And there are plenty of good guides around to help you out with local conditions. Tasmanian fishing guides are highly qualified and accredited, and unlike guides in many other places, they aren't tied to any particular lodge and can operate anywhere. They also have a good tourist knowledge of Tasmania and can introduce you to some great activities and attractions when you're not fishing.
The weather changes pretty quickly here in Tasmania, but that's not always a bad thing. A little bit extra wind might actually help things along today. With a bit of ripple on the top of the water here, the trout feel a lot more comfortable. Can actually really bring the fish up on top. It does pay to be prepared clothing-wise if the weather does change.
Reading the weather can also be a bit of an art in Tasmania, so it does pay to get the advice of a local fisherman or guide. They can help you extract fish under any circumstances. There can be good fishing in flooded margins after a good rainfall, and a local can also tell you exactly when and where the whitebait are running, when the mud-eyes or tadpoles start moving, and when the hatches of spinners, beetles, mayflies and grasshoppers start. There is so much fishing water at different altitudes that you really do get a smorgasbord of fishing conditions and methods right throughout the year.
Yes.
And wherever you are, it's not that difficult to get a bay or length of river all to yourself. After all, Tasmania has so much variety. Tasmania's inland waters give the angler lots of opportunities for all methods of angling. Today we're on the Upper Derwent. It's a pretty nice day. You've seen some of the trout. Today we'll see some of our bream. Bream fishing in Tasmania is fantastic because we have some great sized black bream. We have a great mix of estuaries, the east coast, a couple of great waters on the north coast, the Derwent River and the southern rivers south of Derwent like the Loon and the Esperance. We've all got fantastic fish. This area also has great sea trout fishing in the spring, and you'll catch the odd good resident trout right throughout the year as well. So the Derwent, really close to the centre of the CBD. It's only about 10 or 15 k's, so really you couldn't ask for much more. So let's go fishing. This morning we'll be throwing a hard body minnow for most of the morning. These are great little searching tools. We'll concentrate on the edge structure, overhanging bushes, fallen logs, semi-vertical edges. We'll head out and see if we can find some big black bream for you. We'll just start by jerking a little minnow down the outside of this timber snag here. And when we throw hard body lures for the bream, we'll work our way into the structure, see if there's anything on the outside to snag on, and then head right in like that for a close into the cover shot. Now your standard bream retrieve in Tassie is a little flick and a long pause. It's all about the pause. You won't catch too many bream while you're moving the lure unless you're in a really aggressive mood. It's important you use a light leader with your small lures. If you use a leader over 6 pound, they're just not going to perform the way they're built to. Our black bream fight hard, but they fight pretty clean. You can catch bream on the fly as well. I've recently had a bit of a go myself, and I was surprised. Caught bream fairly quickly, so wasn't a great mystery that I've heard that it can be. Small clouser patterns and baitfish patterns cast into the snags as you would with a hard body, just on a floating line, something slightly weighted to get down. Once again, strips and pauses will get you the fish. Oh, yep, there's fish. Right, we'll just pop a little cast in there. There's a couple of fish busting up on the surface there. Got some little sticks in the water there against the shore. Going to pop a little hard body in about there, not too close in to start with. Oh, big swirl. Yep, little hook up. Not a bad fish. Yep. Well, there we go. Now he's woken up. This part of the fight, just stay tight on them. Don't get too... Oh, there's some fish with him too. First fish of the day, and there's about 6 good ones behind him too. So we'll just back out. Just a little bit, just out of this. Keep him on a leash. No need to rush this fish. Take him out from the snag, because all those other fish, you're just going to be able to pick them off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you've found fish, work from the rear fish downstream to the fish holding at the top. No need to go in right at the juiciest part of the lie and scare them all off. Here we go, so not a bad brim, probably 30, mid-30s. Good start to the day. There he is. Nice bronze flash, beautiful Tassie black. He's just smashed that hard body. Pop him straight in the net. There we go. There you go. There you go. 2 minutes of fishing in Tassie. First fish of the day. How good's that? Not a bad little fish. And look at that. That's a fantastic fit little fish. Off he goes. A few years' time, that's going to be a real cracker, that one. Yep. Just fishing in behind this point here. Got a little upwelling as the current comes around the point, and a ledge along the shore. Just caught a small brim in there. There's more brim there. Just going to pop out a worm on a fairly mid-weight jig head and just waft it around in the current there. It's getting tapped. We should be able to pick one up. Yep, I'm on. He's not a bad fish. Not a bad fish at all, actually. He was sitting right on the edge there. Nice big head on him. A lot of the brim in this part of the river start to exhibit that real snapper-like head to them. Reef fish, usually. Pretty stout-looking little brim, that one. He fought really well. That's an average brim on the Dermot. Quite a nice fish. That's the sort of brim the Dermot's famous for. Do you want another rod? Tasmania's rugged southeast coast is also home to some of the best southern bluefin tuna in the world. You can expect to catch fish in the 20 to 100 kilo range.
You reckon she'll crack the 100?
There's so much variety in fishing in Tasmania, you're never going to get bored. There are endless waters to explore, and there's always good fish there to be had. There's fantastic dry fly fishing, and one of the great aspects about Tasmania is that you can Polaroid fish from the shore or from a boat. It's all good, and it's all really accessible. So what are you waiting for? Grab your gear, grab your mates, and go fishing Tasmania. To book your Tasmanian fishing holiday, just go to discovertasmania.com, or you can find great fishing information at fishingtasmania.net.